I remember sitting in my car in the grocery store parking lot, engine off, AC off. Didn't want to waste the gas. Just staring at this receipt that came out to $64. Nothing crazy on it. No steak, no fancy olive oil, no imported cheese. Just eggs, chicken, rice, and a bag of spinach I already knew I'd throw out half of before the week was over. And I sat there thinking, how is this possible? I have a full-time job. I pay my bills on time. I'm not out here blowing money. So why does it still feel like I'm one bad week away from everything falling apart? If you've ever done that same quiet math in your head, staring at a normal grocery total, a rent payment, or your bank balance at 2 a.m., you know exactly what I'm talking about. That weird mix of, I'm not doing anything wrong, and, so why does this feel so damn hard? That was me at 23. By the time I turned 30, I'd crossed $100,000 saved and invested. And the strangest part? Almost none of it would make for an exciting video. There was no big breakthrough moment, no viral stock tip, no inheritance, no lucky crypto moonshot. Just 10 quiet habits I barely noticed I was building, until they quietly changed everything. Look, I'm not a financial advisor. This isn't advice. It's just what actually worked for me. And more importantly, the mindset and psychology behind it that I wish I'd understood a lot sooner. Here's what nobody really tells you about building your first $100,000. It has almost nothing to do with willpower. We've all been sold this story, that frugal people are just morally superior, that they're somehow better at saying no, stronger, more disciplined. And honestly, I think that narrative has quietly damaged a lot of us. It turns every little purchase into a character test. Buy the coffee? Weak. Skip the dinner out? Virtuous. It makes money feel like a never-ending test of your worth instead of a tool. The truth is simpler and kinder. Most people aren't bad with money. They're just operating inside systems that are deliberately designed to make spending frictionless and saving difficult. Your banking app lets you spend in 2 taps, but makes transferring money into savings feel like filing taxes. Grocery stores put the impulse items exactly where your eyes go first. Subscriptions are built to be forgotten, never canceled. None of this is accidental, and none of it is a personal failing. So if you've tried the budgeting apps, the strict spreadsheets, the rigid tracking, and it never quite stuck, I don't think that means you're lazy or undisciplined. I think it means you are trying to out-willpower an entire industry whose whole job is to get you to spend without thinking. The habits that actually moved the needle for me weren't about developing superhero-level self-control. They were about removing myself from situations where I had to use willpower at all. That's the real shift. Not more discipline, less exposure to the decision in the first place. Let me walk you through what those habits actually looked like in real life, because the individual pieces matter more than the final number on the spreadsheet. 1. The single highest leverage thing I did was pay myself first automatically. Every payday, before I even saw the money in my checking account, a fixed amount moved straight into savings and retirement accounts. Not whatever was left at the end of the month, because let's be honest, there's rarely anything left. Economists have known this for decades. When saving requires an active decision, most people quietly choose not to. Make it automatic, and the discipline requirement disappears. 2. I created what I called my 24-hour rule. Anything over $50 that wasn't already planned had to sit in the cart, digital or mental, for a full day before I bought it. Impulse buying isn't really about the item. It's about the emotional state you're in when you see it. Tired, stressed, bored. Celebrating your brain wants a quick reward. Waiting a day doesn't kill the desire. It just lets the emotional spike pass so you can decide with a calmer mind. More than half the things I put in that cart, I never went back for. 3. I started using cash or debit for anything discretionary: groceries, going out, little extras while keeping credit cards strictly for fixed bills I was going to pay anyway. There's real behavioral research behind this called the pain of paying. Handing over physical cash or watching your actual balance drop registers as a real loss in your brain. A credit card swipe feels almost weightless. That small difference is exactly why it's so easy to lose track of where the money went. 4. I stopped letting my friends' spending set the pace for my own life. It's incredibly easy to quietly adjust your definition of normal when someone gets a new car or remodels their kitchen. Your sense of financial well-being is often less about what you actually have and more about how it compares to the people around you. I didn't cut anyone off or judge their choices. I just refused to let their timeline become mine. Simple, in theory. One of the harder ones to actually live. 5. I started cooking most of my meals instead of ordering out. Yes, it's cheaper, obviously. But what kept me consistent wasn't the math. It was that meals I made myself, even simple ones, tasted more satisfying. There's a quiet psychological effect. When you put effort into something, you value the result more. Cooking stopped feeling like a chore once I realized I genuinely enjoyed the food more because I'd made it. 6. I treated rent as the single biggest lever in my entire budget. For a few years, I lived with a roommate in a smaller place than I probably could have afforded alone, keeping housing well under a third of my income. Everyone loves talking about cutting $5 coffees, but the real money is almost always in the big expense housing, car payments, insurance. Fix one of those, and you save more in a month than a year of skipped lattes ever could. 7. Twice a year, I went through every recurring charge on my bank statement and asked, did I actually choose this recently? Or am I just paying it out of habit? Streaming services, forgotten apps, unused gym memberships. Individually, they feel like nothing. That's exactly why they exist. A handful of $9.99 charges adds up to real money every single month, year after year, without you ever consciously deciding to keep them. 8. Once a year, I called my insurance and phone providers and simply asked if there was a better rate available. It felt awkward the first few times, but it worked almost every single time. Companies count on inertia. A 20-minute phone call that saves $30 or $40 a month doesn't sound glamorous, but over a year, that's real money, and it compounds. 9. I invested on a fixed schedule no matter what the news was saying. Every payday, the same amount went into index funds through my 401k and Roth IRA market up, down, or sideways. Trying to time the market is where a lot of people hurt themselves. I never tried to predict it. I just showed up consistently and let compound growth do the slow, unglamorous work. 10. And this one quietly changed everything else. I started tracking my net worth instead of just my budget. Once a month, I'd write down everything I owned, minus everything I owed, and look at one single number. Not whether I'd been good that month. Just as this number going up, that shift stopped making money feel like restriction and started making it feel like direction. Somewhere around that 10th habit, the real shift finally happened for me, and strangely enough, it stopped being about money at all. I stopped thinking about saving as something I was giving up. I started thinking about it as something I was buying. Every dollar that didn't disappear on a small, forgettable purchase was a dollar that bought me a little more room to breathe later. Room to walk away from a job that was making me miserable without panicking about rent. Room to help a family member without wrecking my own stability. Room to just exhale. That's the part people don't usually say out loud in these videos. $100,000 isn't a scoreboard. It's not about being richer than the old version of me who spent everything. It's closer to insurance for your peace of mind. Every automatic transfer, every 24-hour pause, every awkward phone call negotiating a bill, none of it was really about the dollars. It was about quietly removing tiny sources of anxiety from my life, one at a time, until the big picture stopped feeling so heavy. And once I started seeing it that way, none of it felt restrictive anymore. It felt like I was finally on my own side. If any of this is landing for you right now, I want to be honest about something. You don't need to do all 10 of these habits at once. I didn't either. They layered in over a few years, not a few weeks. If you're looking for a place to start, just do this. Automate one single transfer this week. It doesn't have to be big, even $50 a paycheck moved somewhere you don't touch every day. Then, the next time you're about to buy something over $50 that wasn't already planned, let it sit for 24 hours. That's it. Those 2 habits alone will do more for most people than complicated budgeting apps ever will, because they reduce the number of decisions your tired brain has to get right every single day. And if you fall off for a month, if a surprise bill hits, or you order takeout 4 nights in a row during a brutal week, that doesn't mean this doesn't work. It just means you're human. Researchers who study habit formation have found that people are far more likely to restart a habit after a natural reset point. A Monday, the first of the month, a birthday, the start of a new season. So don't wait for some perfect wave of motivation. Just pick the next reasonable starting line and begin again there. And if you're still feeling behind after watching this, I want to gently push back on that feeling. $100,000 was never a goal I set out chasing at 23. I didn't even know that number was realistic for someone like me back then. It was simply the quiet result of 100 small decisions that got a little easier every single time I made them. You're not behind. You're just at the beginning of your own version of this story, on your timeline, with your income, your rent, your life. None of it needs to look like mine to still count. So if today all you do is set up one automatic transfer, or pause for 24 hours before making one unplanned purchase, that's not small. That's the exact same first step I took, sitting in that grocery store parking lot, wondering if any of this would ever actually add up. It does. Slowly, quietly. And then, all at once, progress beats perfection every single time, and you've already got more time on your side than you think. This gives it a warm, reassuring, and powerful close. So that's it for the video, and I am Sophia. And if you want to save your hard-earned money and get rich, make sure you subscribe to the channel.